Welcome back. So in this one, we are going to talk about the NAT. So we do have two types of NAT. One is the static NAT and another one is the auto NAT. Now coming to the static NAT, you will define a statement within a global config mode, and auto NAT, you will be defining the NAT statement within the object. Now you can utilize any one of those options. It's up to you, but the preference will be taken by the static NAT when compared to the auto NAT. Now Cisco recommend to you to do the auto NAT, not the static NAT. I recommend you to do the static NAT if you are good with your firewall CLI. Now let's look at the topology. What is my requirement is that whenever this PC1 is trying to communicate with the outside network, which can be the ISP, internet, or anything, I want that this internal IP address to be NATed to the interface IP address. So mostly the outside interface of the ASA will be the public IP address. So whenever the inside network is going to communicate with the outside network, I want that to be IP address to be NATed to the outside interface of that my ASA. So whenever this PC is trying to communicate with this router now, it should be NATed to this address. So now if I go back to my outside and you can see that I don't have any route. If I come to my outside router, so if I come back here and if I say that show IP route, and you see that I don't have any information about the 20 network or 10 network over here, and there is also no default gateway. So it just directly connected to the ASA. That's the only thing I have. All right, so let's go ahead and define the static NAT now. So first what I can do is that just on the global config mode, I will say NAT. I want to NAT the inside network whenever it's going to the outside network. With the source, I can define the source here like 20.0.0 with 255.255.255.0, because if you see that this is the network I want to do the NAT. All right, and I want to do a static NAT, and if I do a question mark here, you see that, okay, it's asking me if the source static, and now it is asking me for the address that will be 20.0.0, and it should be, I think subnet mask will also should be given here. And after that, it will ask you for the interface. Source interface. All right, you see that it is asking me for the object here. So I did not create any object. So we should be able to define that IP address and the subnet mask over here, but it is not allowing in the, because this one is the 9.8. So in your exam, it will be 9.2. But you see that previously we were used to define the subnet and the subnet mask and directly define the whatever the IP address which we want to NAT it. But here it is not allowing now. So what I can do is that I will create an object saying that object network subnet. I will say that subnet. If I do a question mark here, I do have these many options over here, but I will go with the subnet and I will say that any subnet. So if you see to my topology now, I do not have any network. That means I do not have any other interface except the inside one, which I want to do the netting. So if I have the DMG, then I will define the specific subnet. So currently I'm not defining the specific subnets. I will say enter and exit. And now I will say that NAT inside to outside. Source will be statics. This will be the object which I want to do the subnet, and interface, enter. So when I say this interface, it will automatically NAT it to the outside interface of the ASA. So what I'm saying is that I want to do the NAT from inside to the outside, and I want to do a static NAT with this object, which is known as a subnet. And in this subnet, you see that it is 0.0.0. And now you see that I'm NATing that to the interface. So first I will go with that one. And after that, I will go to my PC now. I will assign the IP address. That should be IP address add 20.0.2/24/AVTH0 and IP route add default via 20.0.1. Okay, ping 20.0.0.1. If I like this IP route at default via 20.0.1, I have config. Okay, it doesn't have the interface. I think I need to delete that one. And let me get the new one. And I will change the name to PC1. And after that, I will turn that on and I will attach it to E0/1 and get the console. And now I will say that IP address add 20.0.2/24-VTH0 IP route add default via 20.0.1. And if I say ping 20.0.1, I'm able to ping. And if I say ping 10.0.0.254, I should be able to ping to my ASA. So routing has been taken care now. Right, so I have assigned the IP address. Let's go to the browser and type in 100.0.0.1 and you see that. Okay, that should ask me again. And now I will take the, if I say that show IP HTTP server history, now you see that 100.0.0.254, that is the address which has been, whenever I'm trying to access the outside network, the outside interface of the ASA is being taken. So it has been replaced. So if I go to my ASA and if I say that show xlet, and now you should see that there is a NAT from inside to outside to this particular IP address. So now currently I define any address, which is because I do have only one interface now. So that means any address coming from on that particular interface, it will match this, what do we say, route rule. So if I say that if show NAT, you see that this is the manual NAT. Now let's do one more thing, that will be the auto NAT. So I will do the same thing. The only thing is that if I will go back to my object network sub, which I already created. I will just define the NAT statement within that object. Same thing, outside static interface and exit. And if I say that show NAT, now both of them are doing the same thing. They are doing a static NAT coming from the object known as subject and NATing to the interface. Both of them are doing the same thing, but the only issue over here is that the first rule, it will matches the manual NAT. The rule will be matched, but this rule will be never matched. Irrespective. So if I say that clear xlet, and if I go back to my this one, if I say that 100.0.0.1, or I will just close that one. Cisco and Cisco. And if I go back here and if I say that show IP HTTP server history, it's doing the NAT, not a problem. So, but if you see that the translation hits are number 8, and if I say that show NAT again, the translation hits are number 14, but it will never go to this section. So you have to be careful while defining the NAT rules, because if it overrides with the manual one, the manual will take the preferences, auto will not come into play. So to do that one, I will say that no NAT inside to outside, source static sub to interface. And now if I say that show NAT, now this will be in play. This is the auto NAT, only NAT available here. So I will just close that one, come back here, and I will say clear xlet, and I will go to my browser again, type in the address this time 3.3.3. And I will go to the same thing, show IP HTTP server, and you see that's the same thing happening. Now this time, If I go back here and if I say that show net, now it is hitting to this particular rule. So I have defined, so if I say the show run object, so I have defined the NAT statement within the object, then it becomes the auto NAT. And Cisco also recommend this auto NAT. Now, if you're good with the CLI of the ASA, I recommend you to go with the manual NAT, because manual NAT is like you can create many rules and you can adjust those rules like up and down. You can adjust the sequence accordingly. All right, so that was the NAT. Mostly that is the best. Most of the production scenarios are this one, but not the subnet as 00. So I will go ahead and I will delete that object. No object network SUB. So let's do one thing now. So what I want is that I will create the object for two things. So first thing will be the creating object for the subnet 20.0.0 network, and another object I will create it for my outside interface. It's the same thing. Instead of providing the interface, I will match it to the object. So what I will do is that I will go back here and I will say that object network subnet. And here I will define the subnet 20.0.0, 255.255.0, and exit for now. I will create one more object that will be the outside interface with host 100.0.0.254. These two objects are created. Now let's go back to the object network SUB. I will define the NAT statement here. I will say that inside to the outside, static, and I want to match it to the object out. Now overlaps with the outside interface. You see that it is not allowing me to. So what I have to do is that I have to come up with another IP address over here within the same network. So I will go back to my object that should be object network out, and I will define the host as 100.0.0, or I can say that 210.100.1.254 and exit. And I will go to my outside and I will say that config t IP route 210.100.1.254 via 100.0.0.250, because if the router does not have the route, then but in the protection it's a public IP address that will be routable on the internet, that you shouldn't have to worry about. So I will say that object network SUB, I am saying that NAT inside to outside, static out, and that's it. And if I say that show NAT, it's now NATing. So I will say that clear X late, go back to my PC, turn off the browser, turn back on, and this time I will say 100.100.0.1, Cisco and Cisco show IP HTTP server history, and now you see that this is the IP address. All right, so I have matched the object. So object